Nicola Colella was the first person to accurately research and publish a study on the ancient urban Corfinium. The road in front of this archaeological site is Via Tiburtina Valeria, also known simply as Via Valeria, which in ancient times ran from Rome to Aternum, or modern-day Pescara. As we enter the excavations, we travel along the first of two gravel sidewalks. The main sidewalk has evidence of small shops on one side and the remains of columns in which only the marble bases remain. In this section, I am actually walking on a portion of the original sidewalk. Not that I am an archaeological buff, but I think it's exciting to walk on the stones someone else walked on nearly 2,000 years ago. Since this small store has a drainage ditch exiting the foundation, it is suspected to be a place for washing clothes. This residence is believed to have been completed in the 1st century AD. From the building size, the garden, and central baths, it is surmised that the owners were prosperous. The grand garden, rectangular in shape, is delineated by colonnades on 3 sides. Adjacent to the end of the bath, we find a square structure identified as Ninfeo. Within the structure, we find geometric mosaic designs in stone. There was also a fountain adjacent to the bath, spouting water. Unfortunately, this was not preserved. We now have a closer look of the central bath or basin, which is in line with the central room of the residence. The metal framework in the bath area is an artist's attempt to signify the water in the bath. The garden was finished with a curbing of bricks along one side and was delineated by a flower bed of climbing flowers. What we have here is an original roof shingle, not unlike the modern terracotta roof shingles we see all over Italy. The walls and ceiling of the residence were painted with geometric designs, floral scenes, and human figures. Three of the 5 rooms retained their mosaic floors in a somewhat reasonable condition. One of the floors employed a special blue-colored tile, which was known to be costly. The reconstruction of the site was rigorously carried out based on the types and proportions of the excavated elements. Just beyond the colonnade, on the other side of the garden, we find first the caldarium, or hot water bath. The furnace was not evident, however it is surmised that the heated air entered at this end. The floor of the bath was elevated on these brick pilings. The water of the bath was heated as the hot air flowed under the floor. Next to the caldarium was the tepidarium, a similar bath with lukewarm water. It makes perfect sense, since the hot air enters at the caldarium end and is cooled by the time it reaches the next bath. Adjacent to the tepidarium is a frigidarium, or as you might expect, this room was unheated or cold. This is also where the locker room and sauna might have been located. These baths were dated to the 3rd century AD and are not believed to be part of the residence. The medieval portion of Corfinio rests upon this jutting portion of land. In the medieval era, the walls created a defensible fortification. Let's take a walk through this medieval section, the Borgo Antico. Our first stop is the town hall, also known as the Comune. The streets are tiled and obviously have limited automobile traffic. Flower boxes and decorative doors abound in the Italian fashion. And some older doors, not quite so decorative. The Cathedral of San Pollino is one of the most significant monuments of Roman architecture in Abruzzo. It was also known as the Basilica Valvense. It was the seat of the ancient Diocese of Valva. The cathedral was built in the vicinity of the cemetery where the martyred Saint Pollino was buried in the 4th century. Construction was started in 1075 by Bishop Transmondo, paused in 1092, and completed in 1124. The central apse has beautiful wooden choir seats dating to 1738. Between 1682 and 1704, the medieval style of the church was transformed into the Baroque style. In the restoration of 1960 to 1971, the church was returned to the medieval style. During the various transformations, many elements were lost. As a result, the church remains rather stark. A fresco of Christ's crucifixion with cherubim and Saint Benedict, 13th century. Madonna and Child in bas relief, dating to the 12th century. Attached to the church, and perpendicular to the right side, is the Oratory of Saint Alessandro. The oratory was constructed in 1092 and unfortunately is not open to the public. It is said that the remains of Pope Alessandro were interned in the oratory. This magnificent ambon was constructed between 1182 and 1188. The church is characterized by well-constructed apse showing expertise in sculpture and architecture. Original wall decorations in geometric and floral patterns. A fresco of Saint Antonio of Padua, 16th century. The main door has an ancient arch decorated in repeating floral designs. This masonry is a characteristic of medieval churches. At the side of the church, we find some Roman artifacts. One wonders what this fragment said. As we move behind the cathedral, we find an area of archaeological exploration. The outside of the church is marked by jutting pilasters, blind arches, and decorated arches with stylized flowers and animals. Sulmona is situated in the center of the Palini Valley and was a thriving Roman town. Sulmona is known for the production of confetti, or sugar-coated almonds. There are documents describing sweets very similar to the present-day confetti dating to 14 AD. The poet Ovid, one of the greatest Latin poets, was born in Sulmona in 43 BC. His bronze statue in the middle of 20 September Square. The Swabian aqueduct was built in 1256 by Manfredi from Swabia. Its 21 stone arches are well preserved. The aqueduct ends at the Del Vecchio fountain, so named for the Vecchi family who contributed to its construction.